in this round. So I'm going to, I have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat? Okay. So that's good. You all pass.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to watch this heated CNN debate between Frank Luntz and everybody else. Everybody was attacking this guy when he simply was trying to explain to them the mindset of the American voter, and that they are sick and tired of being called racist and misogynist just for supporting Donald Trump. And that's all he's doing. He's just explaining. He's a pollster, right? That's his job, is to understand the mindset of the voter. And he's trying to explain it to them. But they internalize this and take offense to it because they believe he's defending Donald Trump. These people are just, they're lost. But anyway, let's not waste any time and get into this video.
I think I'm alone in this group. I think I'm kind of afraid to be alone in this group. I surveyed these people. I focus grouped them. And they are really, really tired of being accused of either racism or sexism because they voted for Donald Trump. And it's one of the reasons why so many of them did. I sat on this stage with you and got chewed out when I suggested there's a better language to reach out to voters, that the Harris campaign is missing what they're looking for. And I say the same thing here. Americans just want to be Americans, not hyphenated Americans. Not female Americans, black Americans, Jewish Americans. They just want to be Americans.
How do you think it makes people feel, black people, women, any person who has immutable characteristics about themselves, to be told every time that something happens that because they exist in a particular role, it is their fault? How does it make them feel?
Wow.
How does it make?
Wow, let me stop that real quick because it's funny how she says that. Well, actually,
I think I'm alone in this group. I think I'm kind of afraid to be alone in this group. I surveyed these people. I focus grouped them. And they are really, really tired of being accused of either racism or sexism because they voted for Donald Trump. And it's one of the reasons why so many of them did. I sat on this stage with you and got chewed out when I suggested there's a better language to reach out to voters, that the Harris campaign is missing what they're looking for. And I say the same thing here. Americans just want to be Americans, not hyphenated Americans, not female Americans, black Americans, Jewish Americans. They just want to be Americans.
How do you think it makes people feel, black people, women, any person who has immutable characteristics about themselves, to be told every time that something happens that because they exist in a particular role, it is their fault? How does it make them feel?
wow.
How does it make?
Just like they do with white people all the time. When there's something, any type of disparity, y'all blame it on discrimination because of white people. Anytime there's something that happens to a minority, they blame it on white people and immutable characteristics about themselves that they can't change. They blame white people for their ancestors doing, when without knowing if these people were even involved in the atrocities that happened in the past, right? They have no idea these people's background. This is funny. This is, I mean, the hypocrisy from these people is crazy. It's stunning.
Make people feel when they're told that they're a racist.
No. I
Right.
mean, answer. But answer my question.
I am, because these are predetermined considerations.
But no.
You were going
you're
to
assuming. You're telling me I'm.
Do you
calling
want an
people,
answer?
Well, you're not answering my question. You're telling me.
Yes, I'm trying to.
You were
No, you're
telling
not.
me
Actually,
that.
Your response is in bad faith. I mean, what she is saying is something you're not responding to because it doesn't address why Donald Trump immediately went to DEI as an explanation without any evidence whatsoever for what looks to be an inexcusable and certainly a very devastating and tragic plane and helicopter crash a couple of days ago. And instead, you pivot to talking about how terrible it is that some people who voted for Donald Trump are being called racist and sexist. You're refusing to grapple with the central tension.
My understanding,
Frank, it's an option.
Hold on.
Frank, it's an
because
option
my
for
understanding
Trump.
is of the voter.
Frank,
that is what I do.
It is
I'm
an
opposed.
option.
What about
for
the immorality
Hold on.
and the incompetence
Frank,
of
it's an
blaming
option
DEI
for Donald
for what
Trump.
happened?
You guys can all jump on me. That's
No,
fine.
I'm not jumping on you. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Okay, look, it is an option for Donald Trump to respect his voters and not scapegoat race in a situation like that. He chooses not to every time. Why?
He is saying, and I do not defend him, and I've not defended him on this program, because there are things that are more important than Republican and Democrat, and it's why some people lost primaries, and some people are not members of Congress anymore. I'm trying to tell you the truth.
Well, look, you don't have to listen. I
not-
just won my
Mondare,
primary,
hold on.
but you don't have to lecture
Mondare,
me.
hold on,
Would you let me
Mondare. Let me
finish?
let him
I
finish.
mean, if you're gonna throw shots, I'm just
Mondare, just a second. Let me let him finish.
You see, they're offended because he's speaking the truth. One, he's explaining the mindset of the voter. He's not trying to defend Donald Trump's mindset or Donald Trump's answers. He's explaining to you how the voters feel. He's a pollster. His job is to understand the mindset of the voters, and he's trying to explain it to them. But they take this as an attack on themselves, which is hilarious. And it's projection, right? They internalizing this attack there because they know that they're in the wrong. And they're the ones that are actually calling people racist when they're not, with no evidence whatsoever. It's the projection. Oh, well, Donald Trump blamed DEI with no evidence. Well, you keep blaming white people and blaming racism for everything with no evidence. With zero evidence most of the time.
Finish.
This is why this show is such a challenge for me, because I really am, and I've been on this show and criticized him many times. I've been on the show and praised him. In the end, how do we get beyond how we look? How do we get beyond how we sound? Because in the end, we all have a right to a point of view, and I respect yours, regardless.
I
of
just
what
don't
you-
respect the gaslighting and the bad faith conversation.
I
That's all.
also think you cannot talk about getting beyond all of those things, race, hyphens, whatever it is, when at the highest offices of the land, you have someone saying, because there is diversity, there is a lack of merit, there is a lack of quality, there is a lack of experience.
That's not what's being
That
said.
is a racist view, that people who have characteristics that they cannot change about them, that don't tell you anything about their intellect, about their experience, are by definition not experienced. Do you understand that?
I do, because I listen to this, I hear this, and I internalize it.
Wow.
And for those who feel like they're being marginalized, we have to do more. I agree with you.
It's not even just about being marginalized. It's just
But
about
I-
recognizing
I
that.
just said I agree with you.
I know. I'm saying, but look, I'm
You're
not
not
trying to
gonna
use
hear me.
academic.
She's not going to let him finish anything that sounds credible because her job is to have him sit there and discredit him. So even when he's saying something that she agrees with, she's going to continue to attack him. That's her job. I don't even know why she's there. Right? She claims to be a journalist, a moderator. It doesn't look like it. You're always part of the debate. She's always part of the debate. And he just agreed with her. And once again, she's going to continue to discredit him every single time.
I'm not trying to use academic language to talk about this. I'm just saying
This is
that
annoying.
there are people. Look, a couple days ago, there was a Harvard-educated Olympic track star was told that she wasn't qualified to have gone to Harvard, that she was basically a DEI admit to Harvard. That just from a human
Yes, that's
perspective,
wrong.
that is
We
wrong.
all agree
right?
that's wrong.
May I ask you a question
We
about
all
this?
agree with that, but there's nothing I can say to you on this panel for any of you that's going to satisfy
No.
you.
May I ask you a
Facts.
question
And
about
that's
this?
the problem.
So you're saying
Facts.
Americans felt alienated by the way Democrats talked about
And-
some of these things.
Yes.
Okay, but do you think that this is the antidote? That I think that's the question here. I mean, you can be critical of terms that Democrats have used, but it's not clear to me how this approach is better. In fact, it seems exponentially worse to be scapegoating, whether it's hyphenated Americans or otherwise, any group of Americans for this tragedy, to be purging government data from websites under the guise of DEI and rooting out wokeness. I guess that's where I think there's a bit of a disconnect here. It's
I
like,
agree with you.
okay,
I agree with you. And you're probably surprised. That's the goal in all of this. How do we get to the point when we are judged by our merit, when you're judged by our performance. I've had 2 experiences. Number one is my house almost burned down in Brentwood. I wasn't even there to see it. And I want the best people possible to be on the front lines fighting that fire. I landed 55 minutes before this plane landed. I could have been on it. So I feel it. I hear this and I get it. And you're correct and you're correct. The question is, do we beat up on it and yell about it and complain, or do we try to get a solution? Do we try to get beyond it? And the problem is, there's nothing I can say that's going to convince you.
Yeah, so let's just stop it right there. Now, as you see up here, this article says FAA embroiled in lawsuit alleging it turned away 1,000 applicants based on race that contributed to staffing woes. So is it a legitimate reason that Donald Trump brought up the DEI situation? Possibly. We'll just have to wait and see from the results of this class action lawsuit. But the funny part and the hypocrisy comes from this panel when they mention that you should not judge people based on their immutable characters or characteristics, but they tend to never give the same grace to white people. Anytime, like I said, there's some type of disparity, they always blame it on discrimination. They always blame the white man. When there's something that happens to any black community, they resort to blaming it on the white man. And so, once again, that is an immutable characteristics that they can't change about themselves. They blame every white person for the atrocities of the slave trade without knowing if their ancestors actually contributed or benefited from the slave trade. Right? You'll have people like Sunny Hosted who actually benefited from the slave trade. Her family and her ancestors actually participated in the slave trade. You have people like her that will call out white people for participating in the slave trade when she was also, technically, her family was also a part of it. Right? That's what I'm saying. It's hypocrisy. I can't even say it. It's hypocritical. It's 100% hypocritical. And when it comes down to the DEI argument, it's not race related. Nobody said, especially even Trump, said that DEI is in correlation with black people. Matter of fact, the left is saying that DEI contributes to helping the white woman. And so the logic is never consistent, because if you're saying that, well, they're ending DEI because they don't like black people, while also saying that DEI benefits white women mostly, well, that doesn't make any sense. They can't be racist to black people because it technically benefits white women the most. So they're technically being racist to white women, right? That logic is just not consistent to me. It doesn't make any sense. And when people are criticizing DEI, they're not talking about the diversity of the organization. They're talking about the resources spent to push diversity agendas, diversity programs, right? Those resources, those, individuals, the money, the people, the time could have been spent on making, flying safer, but they spent it on diversity, which is, you can blame that, right? That's time, energy, and money and resources that could have gone to making flying safer that went somewhere else. That is actually not beneficial, right? The DEI programs don't benefit anything or anybody except the white woman, right? So if that's the case, why push for it? Why push for it? Why? I mean, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So yeah, you can criticize DEI and not be race related. You can just say, hey, DEI diversity programs are not productive. Therefore, resources are being wasted pushing these agendas where they could have been spent helping, things become more safer. So yeah, I think it's legitimate. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let's talk about this video in the comment section. Hope you enjoy the content. Hit the like button down below. And if you are brand new, consider hitting subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.